Millions of people have looked to Mecca, to the Kaaba, as one of the most sacred sites on earth.
For centuries, the Kaaba in Mecca has stood as a symbol of purity and divine connection. Millions from around the world gather each year, encircling this sacred structure, raising their prayers to God. But what if this iconic building, revered by so many, holds a much darker secret, one that's been hidden in plain sight? Imagine standing before the Kaaba, the focal point of the Islamic faith, unaware that beneath its hallowed walls lies something far more sinister than anyone could imagine. Could this sacred site be a prison, a place where spiritual forces are bound, waiting for the moment when they will be set free to fulfill ancient prophecies? Jesus himself warned us of deception in the last days. In Matthew 24:24, he spoke of false Christs and false prophets who would deceive even the elect. What if this prophecy is more than just a warning about individuals? What if it's connected to a powerful force bound beneath the very structure that stands at the center of millions' faith? Today, we will reveal what's truly hidden inside the Kaaba, a truth that's been veiled for centuries. But be ready, because what we uncover will challenge everything you've been taught. The Kaaba, as we know it today, is a shrine of incredible reverence, but its origins trace back much further than the rise of Islam. According to Islamic tradition, the Kaaba was originally built by Prophet Abraham, and his son Ismail, as a house of worship dedicated to the one true God. But there's a twist in this narrative that isn't often discussed. The Bible, surprisingly, doesn't mention Mecca or the Kaaba in relation to Abraham's covenant with God. Instead, the Bible ties God's covenant to Abraham's descendants in the land of Canaan, particularly Jerusalem, which is believed to be the true center of Abraham's faith. So why was the Kaaba built in Mecca? Was it truly a divine command, or is there something deeper at play? Before the rise of Islam, the Kaaba was a pagan site, home to hundreds of idols. Pilgrims from all over Arabia would visit to worship their gods, a practice that continued for centuries. This is where the story takes a darker turn, because these idols were not merely symbolic. The Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians 10:20 warned that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to demons and not to God. Could it be that the Kaaba, even before Islam, was not a place of worship for the one true God, but a place where darker forces were honored?
In the early days of the Kaaba, long before the arrival of Islam, it was not a place of worship to the one God. Instead, it was a sanctuary for idols, hundreds of them, each representing a different god from the polytheistic beliefs of the Arabs. The Kaaba was essentially a house for false gods, and the people of Arabia from all walks of life would come to honor them. But what does this tell us about the deeper, spiritual role the Kaaba might have played throughout history? The Bible speaks of spiritual powers that exist beyond our understanding. In Jude 1:6, it refers to angels who left their proper domain, bound in chains until the day of judgment. Revelation 9 similarly describes beings who are locked away in the abyss, waiting for a moment of release that will bring catastrophic consequences. Could the Kaaba, a place that housed idols, also be a place where dark spiritual forces were restrained? When the Prophet Muhammad came, he destroyed the idols within the Kaaba, leaving only the black stone, still revered by pilgrims today. But what if the Kaaba didn't lose its spiritual significance with the removal of the idols? What if instead it became a prison for something far darker? At the center of the Kaaba lies the black stone, a relic that has fascinated and mystified millions. For centuries, pilgrims have kissed it, touched it, and revered it, believing it to be a gift from heaven. But what if the black stone is not the heavenly blessing that many believe it to be? What if it's a symbol of something darker, something that points to a much more disturbing reality? The Islamic tradition claims that the black stone fell from the heavens, and while this may sound divine, ancient religions around the world have long worshipped meteorites, considering them to be gifts from the gods. The Old Testament even warns against worshiping such heavenly objects. In Deuteronomy 4:19, it states, "When you look up to the sky and see the sun, moon, and stars, all the host of heaven. Do not be enticed to bow down to them and worship things the Lord your God has apportioned to all the nations under heaven. Could the black stone be a remnant of this ancient worship, a relic from a time when fallen powers were honored? The black stone may symbolize more than just a connection to God. It could be a sign of something far more sinister that has been bound within the Kaaba, waiting for the appointed time to be released. The Bible is full of references to spiritual beings that are bound or restrained until the appointed time. In Revelation 9, we learn about 4 angels bound at the great river Euphrates, waiting for the right moment to bring judgment upon the earth. Similarly, Jude 1:6 speaks of rebellious angels who are reserved in everlasting chains under darkness for the day of judgment. These beings, locked away and restrained, are waiting for a time when they will be released, bringing great consequences to the world. Could it be that beneath the Kaaba lies one of these restrained beings, waiting for the moment when they will be set free? The Kaaba has long been a focal point of spiritual significance,
drawing billions of people to it. But what if, within its walls, there is something far more dangerous than anyone realizes? Something that's been bound for centuries, waiting to rise again at the appointed time. Scripture reveals that there are spiritual powers restrained in various places, and it's possible that the Kaaba could be one of these places of restraint. The question we must ask is, what will happen when that restraint is lifted? What force will emerge from the depths of the Kaaba to fulfill prophecy? In Matthew 24:24, Jesus warned of a time when false Christs and false prophets will arise and show great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. This powerful warning speaks to a future time when spiritual deception will reach unprecedented levels. But what if this deception isn't just coming from ordinary men, but from spiritual forces that will be released in the last days? What if the Kaaba, as a center of worship for millions, is destined to play a pivotal role in this global deception? Revelation 17 speaks of a great system that deceives the nations, a power that will arise to lead many astray. Could the Kaaba, with its centuries of history and spiritual significance, be a stage for this deception? The Bible tells us that Satan seeks to counterfeit everything that God has established. Just as Jerusalem is the holy city of God, could the Kaaba, in some twisted way, serve as Satan's counterfeit sanctuary? Just as the Temple Mount in Jerusalem was meant to house the presence of God, could the Kaaba be the stage for a false spiritual kingdom that draws billions to worship? The Bible warns of a coming figure known as the Antichrist, who will deceive the nations and proclaim himself to be God. In 2 Thessalonians 2:4, it says that the man of lawlessness will exalt himself over everything that is called God or is worshipped. What if the Kaaba, already a place of immense spiritual power, is destined to play a role in this end-times deception? The Antichrist will set himself up in a place of worship, claiming divine authority, as described in 1 Thessalonians 2:4. Could the Kaaba, already a central focus for millions of believers, be the physical space where this deception unfolds? The spiritual battle we're witnessing is not just between human leaders, but between the forces of good and evil, with places like the Kaaba serving as battlegrounds for these cosmic struggles. If the Kaaba is a place of restraint, holding dark powers beneath its walls, could these forces one day empower the Antichrist? Could the same shrine that once held idols and false gods become the headquarters for the ultimate deception that will lead millions astray? As we approach the end of days, we must be vigilant, knowing that the false Christ will rise from a place of spiritual significance, just as Jesus warned. For centuries, the Kaaba has been a focal point for millions of Muslims, revered as a symbol of purity, worship, and submission to God.
But what if the truth is far more complex? What if this place, revered by so many, is more than just a shrine to the one true God? What if it is the hiding place of something far darker, something bound and waiting for its moment to rise? As we look deeper into the Kaaba's history and its spiritual significance, we must ask ourselves, what is truly hidden beneath its stone walls? Could the Kaaba be a symbol of restraint, holding back spiritual forces that, if released, could change the course of history?
Revelation 9 speaks of the abyss, a bottomless pit where beings of immense power are held until the right time for their release. Could the Kaaba be a physical manifestation of this spiritual prison? The black stone, a focal point of worship, may not be a divine relic, but a symbol of a fallen power, one that is bound beneath the Kaaba, waiting to emerge. This mystery is more than just an ancient riddle. It could be a key to understanding the rise of deception in the last days. The Bible speaks clearly about a time when the earth will be deceived by a great power, a being known as the Destroyer. Revelation 9 tells us of locust-like creatures that will emerge from the abyss, led by a king named Abaddon, or Apollyon, whose name means destroyer. This being, who has been restrained until the appointed time, will rise to wreak havoc upon the earth, fulfilling prophecy and bringing judgment upon those who follow after falsehood. But could this destroyer be linked to the Kaaba? Could the same place that has drawn millions of pilgrims for centuries be the place where the ultimate deception begins? The black stone, the Kaaba itself, these may be more than mere religious symbols. They could be signs of a much darker reality that is waiting to unfold. Could the spiritual power bound beneath the Kaaba be none other than Abaddon, the destroyer, who will rise to lead the world astray in the final days? The Kaaba may stand as a symbol of spiritual power today, but what if it is the very place that will one day become the throne of this great deceiver? The Bible warns us to be vigilant, for the day will come when this power will be unleashed, and we must be ready to stand firm in our faith. In the midst of all the darkness, deception, and spiritual warfare, there is one unshakable truth. Jesus Christ has already overcome. Revelation 11:11 tells us that they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they did not love their lives to the death. The victory belongs to Christ, and he alone holds the keys to death and Hades. No matter what forces may rise, whether they come from beneath the Kaaba or from any other place, Jesus has already triumphed. For believers, this should not bring fear, but assurance. While we face a world full of spiritual deception and turmoil, Jesus has warned us of these things and has given us the strength to endure. We must remain rooted in his word, standing firm in our faith, knowing that his victory is certain. The Kaaba, with all its mystery and history, may one day play a part in the rise of the deceiver, but Christ has already defeated the powers of darkness. We must be watchful, for the deception is already in motion. But we are not alone. Christ walks with us, and his truth will always shine through the darkness. No matter what rises, we will stand victorious with him. The question is, will we be ready when the time comes?